Hi, everybody. It's day 10 of my 10-day program, the final day. So, I hope you all practiced the practice tests that were in bio before watching this video. And for those tests, for the ACT writing test, spend 10 to 12 minutes to do the first 15 questions, 1 to 15. And for the SAT reading test, spend 15 minutes to do the first 10 questions. So, yes, both of the links to the tests are in bio, and let's get into it. Okay, so the ACT writing test. I hope y'all had time to practice and do this test in the bio first, and then come listen to the answers. But today, I'm just going to go over the answers to each of these questions, 1 through 15. So barcodes of linear history. So number 1, the answer to number 1 is C. Students Norman Woodland and Bernard Silver. So the reason of this is because there should not be any commas here, because Norman Woodland and Bernard Silver are proper nouns or proper names, right? So they are essential to the sentence. So you cannot remove them. So that's why you cannot put commas there and block them out. So A is incorrect. B, there cannot be just one comma. Otherwise it's grammatically incorrect. And because it's just two separate clause or phrases, it just does not work grammatically. And D, you cannot have a comma after the Bernard Silver because then there will be no subject if you do that. For D is incorrect, B is incorrect, and A is incorrect. That's why the answer is C, because they're essential. Number 2. So, number 2 is J. Delete the underlined portion. A lot of the answers on the ACT are usually J. Or like delete the answer portion, not J, but like delete the underlined portion whenever they give it. However, not always. So don't always rely on it being the delete the underlined portion, but a lot of the time if you see it, consider that heavily. Okay, so for number 2, it says, inspired by the dots and dashes of Morse code, however, Woodland and Silver created a system of lines that could encode data. So for this sentence right here, Woodland and Silver were inspired by the dots and dashes of Morse code. There's no however needed because they were still inspired, and that's why they did something. Because they were inspired, they created a system of lines that could encode data. Thus, however should not be there, so it should be deleted. In other words and consequently are just other words of saying however. So both of those do not work either. So J, delete the underlined portion, works the best for this sentence. Okay, let's move on. Number 3. The first barcode was composed of 4 white lines set at a specific distance from each other on a black background. Okay, for number 3, A is the correct answer, no change. So like I thought in the beginning and in the ACT tips, the ACT loves the most concise answer and the shortest answer. So all of these answer choices are just variations of distance from each other. However, they're much longer, so they're incorrect. They're technically not like grammatically incorrect. They are just incorrect in the sense that they're much longer answers rather than a shorter answer, and they're not concise when this one is the most correct or the most concise answer. So number 3 is A, no change. And don't be afraid to put no change because a lot of the time the answers are no change. Okay, number 4. Number 4 is F. So the writer is considering deleting the preceding sentence. Should the sentence be kept or deleted? So the answer is F, which is kept because it begins the description that is completed in the sentence that follows. So the first line was always present. Depending on the presence or absence of the remaining 3 lines, up to 7 different arrangements were susceptible, etc. Okay, so you can see that if you delete the sentence, it just says depending on the presence or absence of the remaining 3 lines, etc. So you need to say the line before was needed because it says the first line was always present. And then depending on the remaining 3 lines, the fact that it says remaining means that you have to have something first. So that's why the first line, always present, was required in the sentence. So you can eliminate H and J. And the first line was always present does not give a clear sense of what the first barcode looked like. So G is wrong too, and F is the most correct answer because it begins the description that is completed in the sentence that follows. That's why F is the most correct answer for 4. And you see how I'm saying most correct? Because sometimes other answers are correct. However, the ACT is looking to test if you know the most correct answer. Okay, number 5. Number 5, this is a vocab question. The answer is C. Up to 7 different arrangements were susceptible and therefore 7 different encodings. So susceptible doesn't really make sense here. The answer that makes more sense is C, possible. So the reason of this is that up to 7 different arrangements were possible and therefore 7 different encodings. Responsible doesn't make sense here at all. Up to 7 different arrangements were responsible? No. Were capable? No. An arrangement cannot be capable. And susceptible means like they're vulnerable. And arrangements are not vulnerable in the sense either. Arrangements are possible because they're possible arrangements that can happen. That's why possible is the best answer choice here. And for these questions, it comes down to your knowledge of vocab. And I would just say, to practice your vocab, it's just innate. And to practice vocab, try vocab skills. These are all vocab type of questions, and that's why the Latin I hope helped you a little bit with the vocab and knowing like related words and seeing like different derivatives. And yeah, so this question just came down to a vocab question and a knowledge of your vocab. Okay, number 6, J. Today, 29 white lines making more than 500,000,000 encodings possible. So for this answer, you can't say 29 white lines making more. There's no verb in the sentence if you put it as making. So making you can immediately remove. It's definitely not going to be F. G and H also have no verb, and they said which make or to make. You need a verb in the sentence because every sentence needs a subject and a verb, or a nominative and a verb if you want to know the Latin. So the answer to this one is J because that's the only verb in this entire list. So J is the answer for number 6. Okay, let's move on. Number 7. Number 7 is B, another vocab question, which is actually a lot usually for the first, because out of 15 questions, 2 of them are vocab. That's usually a lot, but it could happen just like on this test. So knowing vocab is very important for these tests. So number 7, the answer is B, contraption. Although successful, the contraption was both large and costly. So concoction, substance, and stuff. Stuff is the most generic answer. That's the freebie. You can throw that out. So it's A, B, and C: concoction, contraption, and substance. What you have to know for this one is you have to go to the sentence above. So in the sentence above, it says their prototype scanner used a 500-watt bulb, a photo multiplier tube, and an oscilloscope. These are all devices, right? A concoction is not a device; it's a mixture. So you can immediately remove A then. And a substance, that is not a substance is like something you can use that is not like a device. It's not an invention. It's moreover like a substance that you like toothpaste or other things like examples like that, right? So substance can be removed too. Contraption is the best answer because they're talking about an invention or contraption and they're very similar. So that's why B is the best answer for number 7. Again, a vocab question in your test if you know the vocab. 7 is B. 8. 8 is G, as a result. So for these questions, they're giving you a bunch of different transition words. So let's see which one works best. So for example, progress stalled until 1970s when laser technology, but both more compact and less expensive, became available. So here you can see that they're saying that at first it was largely costly in the sentence before, and secondly, when laser technology, both more compact and less expensive, became more available, progress stalled, right? So here's a contrast here. So the answer for number 8 is G because, or as a result, because it's saying since it was successful, but it was largely costly. As a result, progress stalled, like it did not move until the 1970s when it became much cheaper. So the reason of this is because they say stalled as they're talking about how it stopped working because of one before. So in essence, because it was largely costly, they stopped, which then until the laser technology came out. So it's as a result of progress stalled because so as a result of being large and costly, the progress stalled. That's why as a result makes the most sense here. You can kind of picture this in your head or just word it out in your head, and you can see how as a result makes the most sense out of all the other answer choices, and that's why G is the best answer. Number 9. Number 9 is A, no change. So while the black lines absorb the light, the white lines reflect it back at a fixed mirror inside the scanner. So you can see that The white lines reflect it. So the it in the sentence is the light. So for this question, it is perfectly fine, and that's the correct answer, no change. If you put them or be, that doesn't make sense because you're referring back to the light, which is singular, and them is plural. Same with ones. That's also plural when light is singular. One is the, and since even though that's singular, it doesn't make sense here because because one refers to like a person or a being, while light is an object. So saying while the black lines absorb the light, the white lines reflect one back. No, one refers to a person or being, while light is a inanimate object, so that's why it describes it the best, and it is singular, so A, no change, is the best answer. Okay, perfect. Number 10. Number 10 is J. Which of the following true statements, if added here, would most effectively lead into the new subject of the paragraph? Okay, so J. Barcodes themselves have advanced as well. So if you look into the new paragraph, being that there are 1 and 2-dimensional barcodes using numeric and alphanumeric symbologies, so you have to read down and you see that barcodes are used not only for a pack of gum or an airline ticket, but also for research. You can see that it's actually barcodes have advanced a lot as they're used as numeric like codes and alphanumeric symbologies, but they're also used for research. And that's why saying today barcodes themselves have advanced as well, that's the best answer choice because they're talking about how it advanced in the paragraph leading into it. You can see in types of questions like these, they give you where you need to look to answer the question. They tell you, if added here, what would most effectively lead into the new subject of the next of the paragraph. So of the paragraph, look further in the paragraph and what most effectively relates to that, and J is the best answer choice. Okay, number 11. Number 11 is B. So like I said, it's not always going to be delete the underlined portion, but you should consider it here. So number 11, today, etc., being that there are 1 and 2-dimensional barcodes using numeric and alphanumeric symbologies, you can see that for this sentence, there is no full sentence here because there's no verb. So you need a verb in this sentence, or there is being that there are, that's technically a verb, but that's just a very long, it's not concise. There are is the simplified version of being that there are. So there are is the best answer choice. If you put C, there's no verb. If you put D, there's no verb. So C and D you can immediately cross off, and A is just a longer version of saying B. So that's why B is the best answer choice because it's the most concise answer that's correct. So 11 is B. Okay, number 12. In one study, for instance, tiny barcodes were placed on bees tracking their activities. So number 12 is J, were placed on bees to track their activities. You can see here that tracking their activities were placed. Tracking doesn't make sense. If you're the verb were placed takes a to or takes a infinitive, as you can tell from Latin. Were placed to do something. That's the only way that makes sense. So looking at all these answer choices, the only ones that are possible are G and J. However, for G, it is had. You can't use had been because everything else is that's pluperfect tense, which is had been placed on bees trying to track. Um, that's pluperfect tense when it should only be perfect tense or were. So in one study, for instance, tiny barcodes were placed. It's not had been placed because that's pluperfect tense. And on top of that, trying to track is just an extra way of just saying to track. So the most concise answer that is correct is J, which is were placed on bees to track their activities because it's in the perfect tense and it's saying to track, which is an infinitive. So that's the most concise and correct answer. 12 is J. Number 13. 13 is C. Barcodes have almost certainly exceeded even Woodlands and Silver's expectations. So, if you look at this, shaping the way we gather, track, and share information, you need the next word in the sentence to refer back to the shaping the way we gather. We do not shape the way we gather. It says we have almost certainly exceeded even Woodlands and Silver's expectations. It cannot be A, no change, because we are not the ones that are shaping the way we gather, track, and share information. The barcodes are. B and D are also the same way because none of them are saying the object that shapes the way we gather and track and share information. C is the correct answer because right after the or the phrase that modifies the barcodes comes the barcodes. So it's shaping the way we gather, track, and share information. Barcodes have almost certainly exceeded even Woodlands and Silver's expectations. So 13 has to be C. Number 14. Number 14 is F. For the sake of the logic and coherence of the essay, paragraph 3 should be placed where it is now. Okay, so yeah, for this question, all I can say is after reading all this whole essay, I guess, or this whole story, you have to look at the story and see where it best fits. So for F, where it is now, let's see, paragraph 3. To create a barcode scanner, Woodland and Silver adapted technology from an optical movie sound system. The prototype scanner used a 500-watt bulb. So basically, they're talking about the contraption and they're talking about how it stopped. If you look at this paragraph before, it says the first barcode was composed of 4 white lines, etc., talking about the barcode. And then they're talking about how they created the barcode scanner and the contraption, and then they're talking about today's scanners. So it flows well in this paragraph. So so where it is now is not completely incorrect. So you can start that saying this could be correct. If we look at G, or before paragraph 1, we go back to paragraph 1, and it cannot be before paragraph 1 because we don't even know who Norman Woodland and Bernard Silver are. And the first paragraph tells us who that they are, and they said they're graduate students. So 1 should come first. So it should not be G. After paragraph 1, let's read the end of paragraph 1. They created a system of lines that can encode data. And then for paragraph 2, they say the first barcode was composed of this. So we cannot be talking about the first bar. So we cannot be talking about a barcode scanner until we first talk about a barcode. So that's why 3 cannot come before 2 because we haven't even talked about the first barcode yet. So 2 has to come before 3, so it cannot be H and J. If we look after paragraph 5, they're talking about today's barcodes. It's not right to talk about Woodlands and Silver's invention after today because they came before. So it has to be before paragraph 5, and it has to be after paragraph 1, or after paragraph 2, and that's why the only option they give us is F, which is where it is now. So F has to be the correct answer. So 15. 15 is C. Suppose the writer's primary purpose had been to describe how a specific technological advancement changed business practices. Would this essay accomplish that purpose? So C is no, because it focused primarily on the development of barcodes and only briefly mentions how businesses have implemented the use of barcodes. So for 15, 15 talks about business practices and how technology changed business. This whole paragraph that you read, or this whole story that you read, was not about a business. It was about the barcodes. So it immediately cannot be yes for either of them. It has to be no. So the only answers that are no are C and D. D says no because it focuses on why businesses needed new technology, but it does not explain how barcodes were able to serve that need. D, it does not even talk about businesses again, so D is incorrect. For C, it says it focuses on the development of barcodes and only briefly mentions how businesses have implanted the use of barcodes. Exactly. Businesses are only briefly mentioned in the whole entire story. The main focus is on barcodes. The rest of them talk about how it's more focused on the business than the barcodes. That's why C is the most correct answer. That's why C is correct. 15 is C. Thank you all so much for your time for the ACT reading English test. Now let's move on to the SAT reading test. Okay, the SAT reading test. I hope you had time to go through this test before. The link is in bio. Just the first 10 questions, 15 minutes on it. But yeah, I'm going to go through the answers and explain why each answer is what it is. Okay, number 1 is B. Choice B is the best answer. In the passage, Lady Carlotta is approached by the imposingly attired lady, Miss Quabarl, while standing at a train station. This is on lines 33 to 35. Miss Quabarl assumes Lady Carlotta is her new nanny, Miss Hope. She says, "You must be Miss Hope, the governess I've come to meet," on lines 36 to 37. Lady Carlotta does not correct Miss Quabarl's mistake and replies, "Very well. If I must, I must. Line 39. Choices A, C, and D are incorrect because the passage is not about a woman weighing a job choice, or seeking revenge on an acquaintance, or disliking her new employer, but it is a woman does not correct a stranger who mistakes her for someone else. Okay. Number two. Number two, it says in line two, turn most nearly means. Okay. Number two, the correct answer is C. Choice C is the best answer. In lines 1 to 3, the narrator states that Lady Carlotta stepped out onto the platform of the small wayside station and took a turn or two up and down its uninteresting length in order to kill time. In this context, Lady Carlotta was taking a turn or a short walk along the platform while waiting for the train to leave the station. Choices A, B, and D are incorrect because in this context, turn does not mean slight movement, change in rotation, or a course correction. While Lady Carlotta may have had to rotate her body while moving across the station, took a turn implies that Lady Carlotta took a short walk along the platform's length. So the answer choice is C. Question 3. Choice A is the best answer. In lines 10 to 14, the narrator states that some of Lady Carlotta's acquaintances would often admonish or criticize Lady Carlotta for meddling in or openly expressing her opinion on other people's affairs. Choices B, C, and D are incorrect because the narrator does not suggest that other people viewed Lady Carlotta as tactful, ambitious, or unfriendly, but she was outspoken. Choice 4. Choice 4 was A, because in lines 10 through 14, the narrator states that people often criticized Lady Carlotta and suggested that she was not to interfere in other people's affairs, which were none of her business. The fact that people often were critical of Lady Carlotta's behavior provides evidence that Lady Carlotta was outspoken. Choices B, C, and D do not provide the best evidence that Lady Carlotta was outspoken. Choices B, C, and D mention Lady Carlotta, but they do not specify how others view her. Choice 5. Choice 5. The description of how Lady Carlotta put the doctrine of non-interference into practice, lines 14 to 15, mainly serves to. Okay, choice 5. C is the best answer. Lines 4 through 10 establish that Lady Carlotta intervened on the part of the struggling horse, the kind of behavior for which lines 10 to 14 indicate she received plentiful admonition from certain of her acquaintances, who believed that she should mind her own business. Lines 14 to 22 indicate that Lady Carlotta had only once put the doctrine of non-interference into practice, and that was when one of its most eloquent exponents had been besieged for nearly 3 hours in a small and extremely uncomfortable May tree by an angry boar pig. While Lady Carlotta blithely ignored the other woman's hypocritical pleas for interference. This incident provides insight into Lady Carlotta's character and also evokes humor through the language choice, etc. Or example, the droll understatement of it is to be feared that Lady Carlotta lost the friendship of the ultimately rescued lady, lines 22 to 23, and the sense that, narratively speaking, justice has been served. Choice A is incorrect because nothing about the incident suggests deception on Lady Carlotta's part. Choice B is incorrect because there's nothing subtle about Lady Carlotta leaving another woman stuck in a tree for nearly 3 hours. Moreover, the passage does not suggest that this was an act of cruelty on Lady Carlotta's part. Rather, the passage suggests that Lady Carlotta was justified in giving the woman stuck in the tree exactly what the woman had so often asked for, non-interference. Choice D is incorrect because the passage indicates that Lady Carlotta was acting consistently with her beliefs and only invoked the doctrine to teach a hypocritical person a lesson. Question 6. Question 6, choice A is the best answer. The narrator explains that Miss Quabarl told Lady Carlotta about the nature of the charge when she gave Lady Carlotta details about the Quabarl children, which is on lines 53 to 61. Since Lady Carlotta is pretending to be a governess, the term charge refers to her responsibilities or job duties when caring for the Quabarl children. Choices B, C, and D are incorrect because in the context, charge does not mean attack, fee, or expense. Question 7. Choice A is the best answer. Lady Carlota learns about Miss Quabble's children, Claude, Wilfred, and Irene, on lines 53 to 58. The narrator then describes Miss Quabble's children, their child, Viola, as something or other else of a mood equally commonplace among children of that class and type in the 20th century, on lines 58 through 61. This statement about Viola implies that all of Quabble's children have skills typical or of a mold equally commonplace to other peers in their social class. Choices B, C, and D are incorrect because the narrator does not indicate that all of the Quabbro children are unusually creative and intelligent or hostile to the idea of having a governess or more educated than their peers. Question 8. Choice B is the best answer. In lines 62 to 69, Miss Quabbro explains to Lady Carlota that she wants her children to actively participate in their education, and that Lady Carlota should not create lessons that require her children to simply memorize historical figures and dates. Miss Quabbro emphasizes an education centered on an active engagement when she states that her children should not be taught but interested in what they learn. Choices A, C, and D are incorrect because the narrator does not suggest that Miss Quabbro favors an education that emphasizes traditional values, artistic experimentation, or factual retention. Question 9. Choice B is the best answer. In lines 77 to 82, the narrator describes Miss Quabbro as appearing magnificent and autocratic, or outwardly domineering, but easily cowed and apologetic when someone challenges or defies her authority. Choices A, C, and D are incorrect because the narrator does not describe Miss Quabbro as selfish, bitter, or frequently imprudent. Question 10. Choice D is the best answer. In lines 77 to 82, the narrator provides evidence that Miss Quabbro appears imposing or autocratic, but is easily defied or opposed. In quotation mark, she was one of those imperfectly self-assured individuals who are magnificent and autocratic as long as they are not seriously opposed. The least show of unexpected resistance goes a long way towards rendering them cowed and apologetic. Choices A, B, and C do not provide the best evidence that Miss Quabbro appears imposing but is easily defied. Choices A and B are incorrect because they present Miss Quabbro's opinion on railway companies and education, and choice C is incorrect because it focuses on Lady Carlota and not Miss Quabbro. So yes, there you have it. Those are the answers from 1 to 10 of the reading test. This completes my course. I hope that y'all improved on your scoring in the SAT reading test and ACT writing test, and if not, just keep on practicing, and learning that Latin that you learned in the first 10 days will help you. Even if you cannot see it now, it will intrinsically help you because you learn another language, and it gives you those grammar skills that will help you base other sentence structure. It will help you with sentence structure and wording for other exams. Maybe if you didn't see it in this exam, you will see eventually in another exam. All I can say is keep on practicing. Practice makes perfect. You can get the 36 or you can get the 1600. Anybody can. You just need to pay attention to the word choice of all these reading tests. You need to pay attention to the questions that they're asking. You need to make sure you're not running out of time, and you need to practice. That's all I can say. And if you have any questions, feel free to check out my website at deadlanguagecomes alive.com. Or just contact me, which you can see on the website. I will provide the links to how you can contact me, and I'll provide you with more details into what you can do to study. And on the website, you can also see further practice that you may need. And yes, thank you so much for your time. I hope you do amazing.